Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Board of Selectmen meeting on July 15, 2024. Please rise for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do have quite a bit of things on our agenda this evening. The first one is at 7 p.m. for the citizens input. Has anyone scheduled for that, Hillary?
I did not have anyone scheduled.
Okay. In that case, then we move for the next part of the meeting, which is we're gonna join appointment with the planning board. Interview planning board associate member applicants. Elizabeth Berthollet.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, good to see you all.
Good to see you too. Long time no see.
Does the planning board have to open a meeting?
Excuse me?
Does the planning board have to open their?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah, they probably should have call your meeting to order.
Make a motion to call the meeting to order.
So moved.
Second. Give a motion to the floor, it's been seconded. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Bill McCall, aye. That motion passes unanimously. Our meeting is now open.
Perfect. So, how you doing this?
Well, it's hot. Hopefully everyone's surviving.
Yeah, I know. So, do you want to talk about yourself for the day?
Yeah, I can introduce myself for you, those of you that don't know, Liz Berthollet. I live on Deer Run and we've been in town, I don't know, maybe 11 years or so. We moved here in 2013. I am a commercial real estate executive, although my focus is data and analytics. So I lead a research team in Boston, and I lead our national life science practice group now as well. So focused on basically researching real estate and writing reports and speaking and publications and all that. I have been on a number of boards in town. I was previously on the planning board a few years ago, currently a member of the zoning board, and I am chairing our MBTA subcommittee. I was also on the Hartford Ave overlay subcommittee as well. And, you know, I enjoy the planning board. I'm friendly with pretty much everyone on the planning board. So they've managed to wrangle me back in to, you know, apply for this position.
That's fantastic to hear. I have pleasure to serve actually with everybody at the MBTA subcommittee as well as with Dennis. On my part, what I can say is in her knowledge when it comes to real estate, absolutely incredible. And she definitely helped us through that process. Probably Rob can vouch for that as well as Mr. O'Connell. And I have no questions, unless if any other board members would like to ask a question to Mrs. Berthollet, please go ahead and do so.
Okay, I just want to make mention that your resume is very, very detailed, very good.
Thank you.
I think you would be an asset to the planning board with your knowledge, especially real estate, but with the other boards you've been on. And we definitely need someone there to, you know, watch over all this development that's going on. So that would be a very big plus for us. So that's all I want to say.
Well, I've known Liz for a long time and I've enjoyed working with her. I think she's outstanding. I think she's the best candidate out there. And I would wholeheartedly make a motion to approve Liz Berthollet as the associate planning board member.
I'll second. Right, it's a joint meeting?
Yep.
First.
So we got the first and second.
Do we need two motions or?
I was gonna ask one motion.
Yeah, joint appointment, so.
Okay,
we
so-
one.
While we're in the discussion,
Yes.
I'm gonna embarrass Liz for a moment.
Okay.
She was kind of humble in her approach. She has a national reputation within the industry. And I think she's very qualified. She was an asset when she was on the board. She's been an asset on the MBTA committee to date and was significant in the Hartford overlay.
That's fantastic to hear. Anybody else would like to add anything else? I know we have the first and the second.
So I know a motion's been made, but
Yeah.
thank you for stepping up and we look, I don't have work to do as much, but I look forward to working with you going forward and it's exciting to see someone so engaged in this, so thank you.
Perfect. So we have the first, we have the second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed?
You want to poll us just to make sure?
I'm sorry?
Want to poll us just to be on the safe side? I know it's all.
Sure, we can vote, we can
Yeah, we
vote.
can delay
Yeah,
it.
just say that where they're over there might make
Yeah.
sense. to
Do
poll.
you want,
Yeah, we
to-
usually poll the board.
do you want us to start and,
You can go.
okay,
Mrs. Alstine.
Yes.
Mr. Shaheen.
yes,
yes,
Mr. Boderation.
Yes.
Mr. Hennessy.
Yes.
Bill O'Connell, yes.
Nick Bobilia, yes.
Bill Devine, yes.
Steve Goya, yes. Brian Zalmer, yes.
so looks like we're all in agreement. Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. That's gonna be exciting. Seems like I gotta speak up,
Yeah.
that more, you know. So the next one on our agenda, another exciting news for some people, I think. Am I right, chief?
I think so,
And would you like to come and join us with that?
absolutely.
Okay, good for me. Yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for this time. Will only be a few minutes. Actually, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Deputy Milo because I think this is his spot right now. So Dep,
So, the chief and I had talked, I've decided to move on to the next chapter in my life. And I've put in my papers to retire. So I will be, my last physical day at the fire station will be July 31st. And, it's been a long, good career. A lot of things have gone on and, I see great progress and I'll keep an eye on what's going on and keep things going. It's been very pleasurable working with all of you and it's time for me to move on and go to the next chapter and start enjoying myself, my retirement. Going south.
Fishing, golfing, all above?
Yeah.
Deputy, it's a pleasure to get to know you over the years, and you were absolutely fantastic, you know, the way you did, and I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I really, I don't think we can thank you enough for the things you have done for our town of Bellingham and for the fire department, and greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
I just, Chris and I have known each other, I think forever, but, I knew him before he married Anna, so there you go. We've known each other a long time and, we've worked together on many committees together, which I've thoroughly enjoyed and, we are going to miss you. I'm not gonna be able to say hello and get my little daily thing from you, but, you know, I think that, for you and Anna, this is good. I know you love Florida. You always have, you too. I know. You want to be
Yeah.
warm, but I wish you both the very, very best and you're gonna be missed.
I'd just like to say thank you for everything you and Anna have done for this town of Bellingham. You know, I don't know you like Ann knows you, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and the work that you've done with our fire community, what you've done in the town. I'm sad. I'm happy for you, but when somebody retires, I'm also sad because you're gonna be missed. And your shoes are big, and I know there are plans to fill those big shoes, but but I just wanted to really thank the both of you, and I hope you catch a lot of fish and you get a lot of hole-in-ones and eagles and the rest of it, so enjoy. Thank you.
And Mike, I think Mike wants to say something too.
Yeah, Chief, sorry I couldn't be there. I got home about 15 minutes before our meeting started. I got to know you through working with Anna in the Veterans Office and my time on the Board of Health, and you're a great guy. I don't think there's any other way to put it. You got some big shoes for your replacement to fill, and you're going to be missed. And I think I'll echo what Mr. Martinez said, and enjoy catching some big fish.
Thank you.
So I know you a little bit better than most of these because we go back a long time and my husband was on the fire department, but thank you for your years of service and your guidance. I know it wasn't always easy, but I'm hoping that you find it fulfilling and you look back with good memories when you look back on this chapter of your life. You hope that you did a lot of good for a lot of young men and the firefighters in our industry, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward.
So I'll turn this for you.
Thank you.
And as we go.
We have a- Oh. I'm sorry, Mr. O'Connell.
Yes.
I'm Chris, speaking on behalf of the board, I want to thank you. You've been a big support to the planning board. I know you spent a lot of late Thursday nights with us. I mean late. And I can't thank you for everything you've done on behalf of the town. You'll be sorely missed, and you're welcome to come to any of our meetings on Thursday nights. Okay? Have a seat over there.
Lay your cards right, I'll let you run them. Yeah.
Oh, so, with the news brought forward by the deputy, again, exciting news for the deputy, difficult news for us. As everyone stated, Deb and I have really hit it off over the last year. We were able to make good strides. We've got to the next chapter. Deputy is a wealth of knowledge. So as he leaves, he's bringing that knowledge with him. So it is actually our honor to let you know that Captain Provost will be moving up to the deputy chief and fill Deputy Milo slot on the 31st. It'll be an interim until the deputy has completed his vacation time. So, and then once that's completed, Captain Provost will be the permanent deputy. So it'll be Deputy Provost at the end of the month. I'm excited about this chapter as well, too. He's a little nervous. I don't know if he knows what he got himself into, but it's
Don't worry about it.
But again, I'm very excited for the deputy moving on for his retirement, well deserved. And I'm also excited to have we're gonna call him Deputy Provost, moving up to the next role, next chapter of his life, and continue to help us move the organization forward and continue to offer a service to the residents. I think is bar none. Again, as a resident, as the fire chief. So.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm excited. I know I've worked with you guys on a steady basis, being a president of the union, and even working hand in hand with Chief Miller. Really excited to take the next step and continue our relationship. It's gonna be tough, I think, moving into that more of the administrative role, and not having that steady group of working with 24s. But it's something I'll get adjusted to. I wish the deputy, the best with his retirement as well. I've known him for, the totality of my career. I want to thank you because you've been a big part of my career, like I just said. I wish you the best. So thank you.
Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Deputy, I have no doubt in my mind, you trained very well over the years. Congratulations and congratulations on your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, sad and exciting news.
Yeah.
But that's part of the life. Yep, absolutely. We wish him good luck. And we moving along. And the next thing on the agenda, Zook Drive flooding update. Jesse, I know you have some information regarding to that. So just before you get on it, it's I'm not gonna get into details because you're about to, but when the Zook Drive residents, when they came to our meeting, they expressed some of the issues they were having. And as we promised as a board that evening, we're gonna look into it and we're gonna get back to them. I think, it's Jesse went down there. I went after that myself. I think, that Jesse has some ideas. How we're gonna tackle this thing. And I'll just let you do your thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to meet with me tonight. So as Simon mentioned, we did go down, met with the residents on site as we said we would. looked at some of the possibilities for an immediate resolution. Unfortunately, it's obviously going to be a much larger project that's going to involve some extensive work. But we wanted to provide an update, what we're thinking, as far as where we're at with our consultants, what we're looking at bigger picture, but also some short-term relief that might be an option. So with me here this afternoon, we do have Jean Christie from Dye & Bond. She's prepared a little bit of a presentation, and we can provide an update on this. So I can let Jean take over if you don't mind, and we'll go from there.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jean Christie. Can you all hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a principal engineer at Ty & Bond. If I have a quick 5 slides or so to show, if I'm allowed to share.
Yeah, please do so.
Okay. How do I get rid of all this? There we go. There we go. All right. So, Ty & Bond has been involved with the Green Acres neighborhood. That's how we know it, at least, for a few years now. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the history of what we've done so far, and then what we're looking to do in the future. So starting out, I think the board, I think anybody, the members of the audience understand what area we're looking at. This is the Arnold Brook watershed. Specifically, there's 5 culverts in that watershed at least, but those are the 5 that are our focus area. They're Lazat Drive, Dalmore Road, Newland, Fox Run, and Whitehall. We understand that, during various storms that there's lots of roadway flooding, some private property impacts with flooding. And I don't think it's a surprise why this is all happening. Historically, culverts are sized for storms that happened in the past and data we had in the past. So they're not sized for the things that are happening in the future. And we all know, based on some of the weather recently, just here in Western Mass an hour ago, we were completely deluged. Today's storms are more intense, lots more rain in a shorter period of time and more often. So they're happening every day, kind of in that summer, every day, that big storm. It's like Florida weather almost. What we know about the area is that, development that occurred prior to the Massachusetts stormwater standards as we know them today didn't have the same stormwater quality and quantity control. So a lot more water was able to run off into our waterways. And then with development, you see kind of a reduction in your local floodplain. So this isn't necessarily the floodplain that's regulated by the FEMA, but this is like smaller watershed floodplains. And you can see in this graphic here, this is from the 1990s. And I know it's not in color, so it's a little hard to see, but when I click, it shows some of the development that's happened in this watershed. So things have changed. And, with changes in land cover, in piping water that was previously running over land, things change. This isn't an uncommon thing. This is happening everywhere in the Commonwealth and all over the region, really. So some of the things that have happened to date, we were involved with the town of Bellingham a number of years ago in looking at how to fund improvements to this area. At that time, we had lots of ideas, but not real projects. So in 2022, there was a couple of grant applications that we submitted. One we call a BRIC grant. All the acronyms are listed up here, and the MVP grant. These are usually really solid grant opportunities when you have a project that meets a number of criteria. Neither of those were awarded, unfortunately. And it was, sorry for the typo, it is not awarded, not no awarded. Since then, we talked to Mass DOT about what are some of their options, what can they recommend? And, we looked into the small bridge program. We're not eligible for that based on a number of things. We looked at the CRMA program. That's some potential funding for next year. And then the Federal Highway Administration, again, lots of different types of funding there, but there's some opportunities for funding sources there. So I know that we just talked about some of the site visits that had occurred, so we can skip over that. Oh, and if I go back here, this is a graphic that we prepared, back in 2022 to support some of those grant applications, showing the area. This is the watershed that we're looking at in the dark black line. And then Arnold Brook is in that kind of red highlighted vertical line there. And then different types of development and infrastructure in place in the watershed. So we have a lot of information. The couple of the formal things that have happened in the stormwater world is that there was a stormwater asset management grant that was issued that allows us to look at all sorts of culverts in town, not just in this watershed, but within the town. But we're going to focus some efforts on the Arnold Brook watershed. And then that starts, you know, later this summer or early next or in the fall. The other piece that has occurred is the local stormwater regulations being updated, and that gives the planning board some increased look at projects, development projects that disturb over an acre. You know, these are kind of that quality improvements that the Massachusetts stormwater standards have always focused on, but now we're able to do it on different types of projects. And then this is going to require some long-term maintenance of stormwater measures that are implemented as part of those projects. So it ensures that these features, these best management practices will be maintained down the road. So those are the things that have happened so far. Looking ahead, kind of our next steps in the Arnold Brook watershed project. Because we were unsuccessful with previous grant applications, we kind of need to look differently at what we have to do to make those grant applications look more attractive next year. So first we're looking at like a watershed based study. So we're not going to look just at the individual project culverts while they'll be included in the whole project. We're going to look at it from a watershed wide, which means we're going to look at all those, the end point of, you know, where water ponds and floods, but also what can we do elsewhere in the watershed to improve stormwater. This is going to include some field work. We're going to look at each of the culverts on site. We're going to look at opportunities to reconnect some areas that have been disconnected from, you know, wetlands and things like that. We'll do a full hydrologic and hydraulic analysis of Arnold Brook because we need to understand the whole system. What we're going to want to try and do is look at opportunities to retrofit some of our existing stormwater management features within the watershed, especially higher in the watershed, you know, where water falls, you want to manage it there. We're going to look at, you know, new detention systems, storage systems. I know real estate might be challenging out there since we're going to go and keep this on town property, but we're still going to look at it anyway. And we're going to look at what happens when we do change those culverts, when we do replace culverts that are undersized. You know, one of the biggest challenges here is simply removing a culvert and replacing it with a bigger one. Yes, it solves that problem immediately there, but it pushes the problem downstream to our neighbors. So it really does require looking at the whole watershed as one system versus individual little projects. The end goal of kind of our next phase of work is going to come up with some preliminary designs and construction costs so that we can actually go after funding for, you know, final design and construction dollars. And then with these preliminary designs, we're able to look at a bunch of different types of funding sources, which have been listed here for everybody's information. So I think those are our next steps. I know that was very brief and, you know, high level overview, but I'm happy to answer whatever questions y'all have.
Thank you very much for this information. What's the time frame like to start the initial study, to do all this work? It seems like there's a lot of work that has to be done. And I know we've got issues for those residents, and then you've looked into something. I know it's not an immediate. What's your estimate for, not for funding, I'm just to get through all of the research and the analysis and to come back with a recommendation? How long is that process?
Yeah, the scope of work that I had outlined is probably, you know, till late winter. You know, if we can get field work done this summer, it helps a lot. But with the modeling and the preliminary design, it's not a huge lead time. The goal is to have something concrete for next year's grant season.
So we've got all of this that we're gonna look at and study to do, but what I'm looking at is what are our short-term solutions? What are we gonna do short-term to help the residents now?
Excellent. And I think I can answer that question there. So as far as what we're able to do short term on the DPW's end, We are investigating the possibility of a large, volume pump, to bypass a portion of this, culvert, this stream, and provide some relief during heavy rainfall events. We've explored, actually have in front of me, several quotes, for this type of potential, as well as the purchase price. So essentially what we've discussed is trying it out, seeing if it works, and if it's something that provides, substantial benefit.
Yep.
Perhaps we look at purchasing if the event comes up in other areas throughout town. So
Yep.
we want to essentially try it before we buy it. So, from the DPW standpoint, we're looking at, this large bypass pump for the here and now.
Okay, that would be good.
What's the size of the pump you're looking for, like, how many gallons per minute?
So it's
It's gotta be significant.
It is,
size,
yeah. So this is a very large,
What do
it's
you
actually a
think?
trailer mount.
Yeah.
It's a 6-inch discharge,
Okay.
volume pump. Price tag on purchasing this type of unit is about 70,000 is the quote that we got. So just as far as sizing, you can tell it's substantial. The gallons per minute, you can certainly follow up.
But it's a 6-inch pump, it's those like usually actually a pretty decent size. It empties a pond in some matter of hours, so it should be. From my understanding, from some of my experiences, it's obviously you're the expert, but that should help a lot, am I right? It's.
I would have to imagine this would move some serious water, on a 6-inch pump, it's very large. Of course, the culvert itself does carry a lot of water, especially in the high rainfall events, but at the very least, we would speed things up. Obviously, we've had some substantial flooding here. If we can at least speed that up, of course, we want to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
But at the very least, we would expedite the amount of time that area would be impacted.
In these, when you have a pump like this, you're lining up a water tanker truck next to it, right? And you're pumping it into the tanker truck, or where's the water?
No, that's
district going?
actually a great question.
I've
So
seen that before,
Yeah.
that's why I asked.
yes, so our plan with this is to actually just bypass the culvert itself. So we would
Okay.
essentially run a hose from one side to the other and just send it
Okay.
downstream.
Okay.
And the other side of that too is, so of course, we talked about our downstream neighbors as well. If we find that there's an issue being created as a result of this, we could also shut the pump off.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a little bit of trial and error. We plan to, first acquire the pump, set it up on site when we know there's gonna be a heavy rainfall event coming.
Yep.
Have it stationed, have somebody on site able to run that pump and monitor the results.
These are diesel generated?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're pretty quiet, right?
Yes, yep, that's actually one of the items that we did specify. We want it to be quiet because, if this thing does run for a prolonged period of time, we don't want to affect the neighbors.
I drove by one just over the weekend, that's why I asked, and I saw a tanker truck next to it, and I drove by and I saw that they were draining a pond. And I rolled the window down and I could barely hear the pump. And I asked the guy, what are you doing? He goes, oh, we have to drain the level and I'm pumping it into the tanker truck because we have no place to send the water.
Understood.
So I saw it on Saturday, so I thought that's timing perfect. So yeah, I've seen that and it was draining the pond pretty quickly. It really was.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's exactly what we hope for. If we can provide this relief, of course, larger picture, we'd like to fix the culverts, but obviously we've struggled in the past, and if we could at least do this for the here and now, I think it would provide the relief to the residents that they desperately need.
There will be noise for the residents. It's not whisper quiet. But you probably would rather have the noise than your basement
water.
flooded with water.
Yeah.
But there will, just so you know, there is noise, but it's really not like you'd imagine how bad. It's not a locomotive. It's not a train going by your house.
I have a question. So in that presentation, it mentioned a couple culverts. Where would this be stationed? Or in relation to those culverts?
Yep, great question. So that essentially, we would envision this being in the area of the culvert on Lazat. So the day we met on site, where all the vehicles were parked, we're hoping to clear an area into the wooded area there and have this stationed on site. So it's off the roadway, potentially with the suction hose, going in at the inlet, and then we would have to shut down a portion of the roadway, going it off and run that discharge on downstream side of the brook there.
So that's at like the bottom end of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yes, the area where it historically has flooded.
So that's not even talking about,
Before that, where the
Before.
water comes from. That's where.
'Cause
we're
I
having
know-
issues.
my husband had shown some videos of the water literally rushing through. And it wasn't that long ago, that was 2018, September of 2018, actually. So what are we gonna do beforehand? Right, so that's taking care of the water at the bottom. So that's already after it's gone through essentially my entire yard. Wiping out all of my things, taking care of it at the bottom.
So the way I understand it, and of course, correct me if there's anything wrong, but the way I understand it is there is flooding that occurs throughout this area, but much of it is a result of the backup at this one culvert crossing. So as we walked it, it appeared that as the water builds in this one area, it spills out in several locations upstream at that point. Is that?
So the specific storm I'm talking about, it was literally rushing through from the, like the back corner of Newland, down in between all of the houses, right through, right in between, all the way through into my yard, passing over into that little brook that's right there that then connects down.
I mean, that's what the master.
So
plan
I
is.
think it's,
Yeah.
once we get the pump situated, and then, obviously, you know, we have to look into it, obviously, they did the study. And, as we promised, we're gonna look into it, we looked into it, they did the study. At least, once we get the pump, that's a 6-inch pump, it should eliminate a lot of problems. And eventually, when it comes to that, if that's gonna fix the problem immediately, and then probably we'll go to stage 2, which we'll look into replace the whole culvert system.
So again, that fixes the issue down there. That doesn't fix the issue up.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to be very honest. I mean, I lived in that neighborhood. It's
I
been
was
flooding
gonna
like
say,
that.
we all played in the
Yeah.
puddles for
Yeah,
years.
It's been flooding like that for 30 or 40 years. It's getting worse. The ultimate solution is going to be the design that will be worked on and the funding improvements. Until that happens, I know it's just saying every so often, it's just horrific, the amount of flooding that goes on there, but that's why big picture is gonna be millions of dollars to ultimately come up with the final solution. So I wish we could say we can divert it or change it or channel it, but it's coming and it's, you know, the water's racing downhill.
I don't
It
just
is,
wanna.
Yeah.
No, it pools right
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
my question is, because we've asked this before. If I get flooded, right, because my yard is literally the lowest in the whole neighborhood. And I don't think anybody kind of came by that area when you guys came through the neighborhood. Because nobody spoke to my husband or myself. If we ask for help to pump out our yard so all of our things aren't going to get destroyed? Is that going to be a possibility?
I think that's a great question. So for the here and now, we are planning on this single pump, but that's not to say, however, that the DPW doesn't have other pumps available. So
Right.
it is something that we could certainly explore. You know, they're much smaller, I will be honest. It's not a 6-inch, but we might have a 2-inch pump that might be able to provide some relief. But certainly as part of this study, we want to try to address that for the here and now. Absolutely. I think that's something that we'll have to be cognizant of and monitor both locations.
Okay, because in the past, we have asked for help and we were told no.
I mean, on
So
that.
I just want to make
past-
sure,
I'm sorry, in the past, I don't think any of us renewed all the details. And when you came on I mean, I wasn't aware. And as well as Mr. Novashian, I think Mr. Martinez and Mrs. Altamonte. So as we promised as a board that night, we're gonna look into it, and this is the stage 1. And let us, keep our promise, and then this is the first option we can do from
no,
the
I think this
get-go.
is a great start.
So it's, let us deal with that, and then, like Jesse mentioned that, so that's the pump we're gonna obviously station there. But I mean, if we need additional pumps to eliminate the issues, we definitely gonna do it. We are not gonna leave you out there all, it's
And that's what I
Yeah.
just want to clarify, because in the past,
Yeah.
that is what has happened. We were told no, and it was, you're on your own, and I had a lake for weeks.
I mean, just, I'm not saying you know, as I said, we're gonna handle it, and I think, that we found the first solution. Let us just work on that.
No, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
like, I think that is a great start, right?
Yeah.
Why not start there and then further up where the other issues are. But in the meantime, as we're doing this, because we're coming up on that season, right? It's always, starts August and goes to like end of September. We're right there. And I just want to make sure that if we call and ask for help specifically for one area, that, somebody's going to be able to come out and help us. Because again, it leads to all the water coming through down into the neighborhood. And some of it goes over into the brooks. A good amount just sits in my yard. Like literally, I know my husband had said he was on the news in a boat in our
And as I
backyard.
said, nothing we can help with the past, but we can help you with in the future, and I guarantee you, yes, we're gonna help. And this is the first step, just let us deal with the process. And then hopefully you're not gonna have this problem.
And the other thing is, don't hesitate to document, you've been documenting, you've done some great pictures, so now we've got some real big rains coming again tomorrow. So let us see, and send those down to Jesse or call Jesse and say, listen, come on out and see this right this minute, because this is the time to come. And that's the way to do it, so he can really see it.
Mr. Dwayne, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Phil Devine, yes, here Run Road. So I'm just entering into the situation, but when I Google the Arnold and coming down, comes down into Pine Grove. We've had flooding down in Pine Grove, and I guess my concern is that I think that you guys even have a pump down there on Pine Grove already. That when there's a bigger storm event, you guys send them someone from the DPW.
If I could, that is a sewer pumping station on Pine Grove.
Sewer pumping station, but basically it's flooding. When there's flooding, that's when all that the pumping activity starts. And the backyards all flood down there. So I guess my concern is have we looked at when this gets pumped around in this one situation, it goes downstream, my understanding is. And have you looked at downstream, not too far down the stream, is an area that floods already? And I guess my concern is, are we flooding one area, are we gonna start flooding another area and moving it downstream?
If I could, that's a fantastic question, and absolutely, it's a possibility at this time. That is part of what we're talking about. This entire area needs to be analyzed, evaluated, and see what the proper solution is. Upsizing several of these crossings would likely be the solution. With this pump, as we're discussing, I think it would be an excellent opportunity for this area. However, our trial run with this setup, we will want to monitor. We will want to make sure we're not flooding out the downstream neighbors. So to your point exactly, absolutely, it's a possibility, but it is certainly something that we'll want to monitor and perhaps shut the pump down if it turns to be more destructive than it's looking to.
So is that Pine Grove area, are you familiar with what I'm talking
Very
about?
familiar, yes.
So you're saying that you're gonna monitor that particular area when these situations, can we look at that area? Because it is prone to flooding anytime we've got water. The neighbors get water in their basements. The roads get flooded out at times.
It's all part of the study area, Phil, so
Yeah.
it is included in the study area. It's the whole corridor going, up gradient from the Green Acres all the way down.
All the way down, yeah.
Yeah, it's all connected, so it's all part of the analysis that's going forward with all those culverts, with the
Okay,
five
as long
culverts.
as we can keep that as part of the analysis.
Yeah.
In that area,
Yes.
because I suspect that we're gonna have an issue too.
Yeah, great question. Great.
It's not a simple solution.
not. Unfortunately, it's years in the making.
Yeah.
And the more you build and the more you disrupt all the land all around everything, the more it's gonna happen, I think.
I was just looking for the clarification on my properties in the Elaine Circle. What is that culvert called? Is that Dalmore culvert or is that Elaine Circle? What's that culvert called?
The actual name of the
Well, just
culvert?
because like I saw there was 5 listed on there, I wanted to make sure that's part of it, because I don't know what you're considering, because
culvert on
technically that's a lane circle.
Yeah, I know there's an outfall on, behind the lane circle with the retaining wall.
Yes, that's right,
Yeah. No culvert there though. That's, yeah, just an outlet.
Just an outlet, okay,
Yeah,
because that just keeps getting wider and wider into my house, and I don't know how much longer that's gonna get wider before my house is there. You saw it.
Yes, yeah, I was on site. Yeah, so the culvert for clarification is, yeah,
It's the actual
downstream.
dot.
Yeah,
Mine's just a pool where it all sits.
correct. Yeah, there's
Okay.
essentially a ditch that
Cause
was.
it just keeps washing and washing and washing, and my house is 10 feet from it now.
Yep, so again, we're part of the study, we're gonna evaluate what we have existing, what we can do. Again, I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but it is all gonna be reviewed, under analysis. There's no here and now for that portion. If there is anything as a recommendation for, upstream, I can't make that determination right now, but we'll certainly do what we can to try to make the area, less susceptible to flooding.
So the DPW before has come in and put rock in there to try to help fill in, because we have a ton of sinkholes along that. Is that something you guys will still be able to do as these rainstorms continue and we have giant sinkholes in the yard?
As far as the retaining wall portion itself,
Along the retaining wall now, because it's all the water, every time that fills up about 5 or 6 feet. I mean, I don't know if people realize that, and the ground level right there isn't very high.
Yep.
So my house is there.
Yep.
So if there's no wall, that entire body of water is literally into my house. So now there are deep pockets that are forming along the wall because it's all washing out underneath.
yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm sorry, Ines, I need to move this meeting along. Is there any way, can you reach out to him on the DPW? It's, if he has to, him or, Mr. Harrington will come and take a look at the actual, what are you trying to explain?
Well, he's seen.
I've been
He's
there, yeah.
I don't think he's gonna have the answers at the moment. Obviously, he's doing the study. That's what I'm trying to fix this problem. It's, as we promised as a board. But I don't think, he's gonna have the answers right now because he's doing the study. And, if he needs to come down for another visit, he'll be happy to come down and then pay another visit to you guys, as well as I'll make myself available to. And that's a promise.
I think what we're trying to get at is, this is a great long-term possibility, right? To possibly fix the whole issue. What we're asking is for the here and now, for this, until we did come up with a final solution, what are we gonna do if we run into trouble?
You can't call the DPW, we already got the pump, it's already been set up. That's gonna be the step one. That's the only thing we can do at the moment, all right? It's just,
Yes, I
yeah,
mean,
before we get into it.
Your
you know what
situation,
I'm
your
talking about.
situation is much easier. It's just a matter of taking the water out of that area. Your situation's much more difficult. You have a retaining wall that was built by the developer who built your home. So there's a question there as to whether or not you want to try and build something other than a timber retaining wall that holds that up. I mean, that's a much more serious situation there where you are as far as the town getting involved in a retaining wall on private property. It's not something that typically we're gonna get involved in.
But the
That's a
amount
much
of
bigger
water
issue.
that comes out there wasn't a problem when the house was built in the 80s.
Mhm.
So it has now developed into a much greater problem because the amount of water now.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the situation that you have, but unfortunately, I mean, we have talked to council about this. You hate to get into, this sort of thing in a public session, but we have talked to council and to try and repair a retaining wall that's on private property. It's not unlike the ocean. I mean, it washes up and washes people's homes away. We don't want that to happen. We'll do what we can within, within our purview, within our property limits. But it's difficult to get into the reconstruction of a retaining wall. You're talking about voids that are underneath the retaining wall, I think. And-
Because it just keeps
Yeah.
filling.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, we can certainly put stone in there, but I don't know that it's gonna have the desired effect of stopping the erosion. you know, especially when we have these tremendous storms. So, that's just a much bigger issue than the water in your yard is.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
That
not
can handle
speaking
much
just
more,
for,
but-
for my yard, I mean,
Yeah.
for the whole neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've lived in that neighborhood for what, 30 years now?
Yeah.
And I've seen it, like, if I pulled out pictures, I'm sure I have pictures from way back when my parents bought the house. So it's just been getting progressively worse, so I think we wanna make sure that the whole neighborhood is safe and nobody's gonna lose their house, nobody's gonna, fall into a massive, collection of water. It's not, I don't think it's just one area, it's the whole neighborhood.
I appreciate it, it's all the information you provided for us, and we'll definitely take under the advisement, it's obviously he's doing the study. We got the engineers are working. We got the first step, obviously the pump. And then can you go by and then get in touch?
I think we're well aware of that,
So whatever we can help you, we'll definitely will be happy to help you. But I don't think I will have more further answer at this point for you, not at this meeting. Let us work on it, and then Jesse and or somebody will in DPW will get in touch with you, and we are always available.
If I could, I did call each person, after the last meeting, if you could just leave your phone number or email, I'd be happy to reach out.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, water and sewer study results. Jesse, is that, you gonna cover that?
That is me, yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
For you?
Yeah. There you go. Okay. And with me here today, I also have Matthew Abrams. The Abrams Group has helped, has assisted with our water sewer scratch rate study. Let me see if I can pull this up on the screen here. Here we go, and everybody see that. Okay, great. So we do have a little bit of a presentation here for Bellingham's water and sewer rate study. A little bit of background on this rate study. Our last study was actually conducted between 2010 and 2014 with the service charges impacted in 2010. We had a change to the rate and capital improvements back in 2014. And this is all on the water side, so sewer will be a little different, but we'll run through each of the scenarios and how we're projecting our changes to be anticipated. As it stands, water does handle about $444,000 per year as part of the debt obligation. And our average quarterly bill for our customers, again, water only, is about $125 per quarter. So I won't get into this very deep, just a basic overview. I think each of you have seen this here. This is just an overview of what we went through on both water and sewer. We looked at a number of different scenarios, funding mechanisms, how we wanted to approach this. And what I have to follow is essentially recommendations on next steps, how we'd like to proceed. So again, just extensive research on both water and sewer. How we compare to surrounding communities, and what we're looking at in the future too, as far as filtration and well installation, things of that matter. So we'll get into that a little bit farther, but just a very basic overview on what we're dealing with here. So this slide here shows Bellingham's current water rates and how they compare to surrounding communities. So as you can see, Bellingham is at the very extremity, on the cheaper side as far as comparison towards Holliston, Franklin, Milford, Rentham, Norfolk, and Medway. So we're currently just under $125, which we'll use for comparison moving forward. Future projections for the water side, we are looking at approximately between $22 to $30 million PFAS treatment facility upgrades at our Hartford location. We're looking at new source, a new well source, which we will later call well 10. Upgrades to our standpipes that include rehab to a couple of the standpipes that haven't received any application as of late. And we're also looking to fund our capital expenditures through our retained earnings in the amount of 1.5 million. Let's focus a little bit further on the PFAS treatment upgrades first. So with this option, we did explore two different scenarios. The first of which being funded entirely through the water rates. So the enterprise funded alone, and the second option is through a debt exclusion, which would not be funded through the water rates. However, it would be funded through taxes. So we explored both of these options. Our recommendation tonight is to explore the option with PFAS at the amount of $30 million be funded through taxes. What you'll see as a result of this is a change equally across rates, capital improvements charges, and service charges at 17%. This is highlighted in yellow in the upper section there for FY25. How this what this translates to is our current service charges is about $19 on average, and this would increase to about $22.23. Our capital improvements quarterly charge would go from $52.50 up to $61.43. And finally, our average rate would go from $82.15 per quarter to $96.12 per quarter, for an overall increase of $20 per quarter. So that average quarterly bill would go from about $125 to $145 on the water side. Keep in mind what we're discussing is for FY25. There will be additional increases to follow. The recommendation for this is for these new rates to become effective as early as tonight. If it's something that we're able to discuss and come to a resolution on. Essentially, water rates haven't been adjusted in over a decade. We're looking to make that adjustment, especially with the future projections coming. How does this compare to surrounding communities? So again, we talked about that $125 or so. This would bump us up a little bit, but as you can see, even with the $1.5 million to be used towards annual capital expenditures, we're still on the lower end of the chart here.
Jesse, I'm missing something here. The previous slide, we were already at 124.20. If you're suggesting it's $20 a quarter, that would be $80 more. So why wouldn't that number go up over why wouldn't that number now be 204.20? The bill, I'm looking at the chart and you're saying that's current. I thought you were talking about future. What was the previous slide? What were we?
70% increase?
There's another, no, go back another slide. Sorry,
That's okay.
go back. Maybe I'm just stuck on that slide. Yeah.
Look, you're right, but it's quarterly.
It's quarterly.
So it went
Yep.
up $20.
$20 per quarter, right,
Per
yes,
quarter,
I
so
got
from
that.
124 to
I
145.
thought that was annual, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
down.
I see it.
So
That was my
$80 a
mistake.
year.
$80 per year, yes.
$80 per year, $20 per quarter,
Right.
yes, for water only.
For water only, that is correct.
And how much for the sewer?
That is in here. We'll,
Yeah, we'll get there.
yeah,
So-
if you don't mind.
So what you're asking for right now is $20 more per quarter per household or
On-
who's that?
on average.
On average, it could be more.
Could, but yes,
For some
exactly.
step pools, it'd be more, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and actually this chart here, it does show as the meters get larger.
Can't see that because the thing on the right-hand side
Oh.
is covering it
Let's see.
on the Zoom. If you can minimize the photos there on the right,
I think that's actually on,
On the Zoom link?
It's not me. I think because yours,
mine's actually showing on the left side of the screen here.
when I minimize it, it doesn't move on yours.
Right here.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm sharing
Yeah,
screen
it's like your
sharing.
screen sharing.
yeah.
Let me see if I
Maybe
can.
you can minimize yours, Jesse.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the window on the, to the right, where you see the people. That
Yeah,
left.
that's the one, so
Yeah,
that's
you
not
can't
actually
move
on.
it, you can't even move it.
No, mine's actually on the opposite side of the
Oh,
screen.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Let me see if I can zoom in. Let me do this. Oh,
there we go. Okay.
does that help at all?
Do we have that on this chart over here?
I'm looking for it here now. I think we have it there, yeah, I see it now. So capital improvement quarterly charge, current 5250, FY 2025 6274. Page 5.
Correct.
If you scroll, look at page 5.
Page 5.
Yeah. It says, and you'll see the, where Jesse's at, we just don't have his PowerPoints, we don't have the,
Yeah, I have a
Graphic.
19%, shows 19% on mine. So two different figure,
Oh, I'm sorry, which one are you looking at now?
on page 5, he's referring.
I thought that was the one,
one.
but it's 5250 and it says 6274 on mine. And I'm seeing 6143 on yours. Come on over, take a look.
Yeah.
I think it's looking at the
We're looking
figure,
at
yeah,
the
yeah, I
same
think we're
one.
looking at the same one.
Jesse, I can cut in and make a
This
comment
is
on
the
that.
one. I was looking at this, that was right, but I'm seeing this number here, which you had 6143.
Okay, so actually,
So what page was-
you're actually in,
I'm not looking, I'm at the report.
right, so you actually want to go down to page, so if you're basing it off of the original, this was the entire
What
survey.
page should we go on?
That's
It's real, we don't have the PowerPoint, we have the report.
Right, so you want to go to the exclusion at 1.5. I believe this is option 9.
Jesse, have him look, Jesse, have him look it up.
The options in
Jesse, Jesse, have him look at option 7.
Option 7, 5, 6. There we go.
Page 11.
Page 11.
Page 11.
Page 11,
Correct,
yeah.
yep, exactly.
That's it.
So our recommendation is page 11.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a hard copy, I should just open it up. The big part of the issue is we haven't touched the rate since 2014. As a result, we obviously fall behind.
Mhm. Yeah, when you compare it to other towns, we're way behind.
Yeah, wait, yes, yep, exactly. Any other questions before I move on this? I just want to make sure.
Oh, it's going to be clear in your recommendation. Can you just state your recommendation again, please?
Yep, absolutely. So our recommendation is to include the 1.5 million annual capital expenditure funded through retained earnings. With the PFAS borrowing excluded. So we would fund the PFAS filtration facility at $30 million through taxes, not through the water enterprise fund alone. That is the recommendation.
So, but that's gonna increase roughly $20 per quarter, right? So basically, we're gonna
The
increase.
rate increase, well, the.
That just for the
average,
water.
Yeah, the PFAS project, obviously, are
Yeah.
pursuing other sources of revenue, but ultimately we'll have to borrow for that. And the idea is by putting it on the tax rate, a greater share of it is paid for through commercial and industrial development, because they use very little water, but obviously they're the biggest taxpayers. So if you put it all on the water rates, it's basically all paid for from residential. If you put it on the tax rate, a big share of it goes to the commercial industrial taxpayers.
So that's, well, my question is gonna be, we're talking about water right now and then plus the sewer.
Yeah.
So the quarterly, so when the people are watching this, they try to understand. If they're gonna increase 20-something dollars on quarterly on the water, so basically you add in another $80-something just for water only. And plus we got the sewer on top of that. What's that figure is gonna be?
Yep, good question. So we'll run through and I'll show you those figures as well, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
So I think that's gonna be, that's gonna be the decision making process, you know, so.
Yes, and for clarification, so that's for the water portion, that's $20 for FY 25 where we are today. So moving forward, we also need to increase year after year to stay current, but also incorporate these very large ticket expenditures that are coming down the pipeline as in addition to our PFAS. So PFAS, it will be excluded. However, we have standpipe recoating. We have to catch up to where we really should be on our annual allotments. We have our well 10, as I mentioned, coming online. So we have other big ticket items that this will also fund. So for clarification, it's $20 per quarter for FY 25 to fund some of these larger ticket expenses that we're anticipating.
And are we gonna be, or do we, are we looking to increase again to 26?
Yes, yes,
So
we
it's
are.
gonna be the same amount?
So we're projecting, in this scenario, we're projecting a 17% per year, yes.
So if someone is gonna have their water bill increase $80 per year this year, how much is gonna be next year?
Matt, do you have those figures? It's gonna be close, but it's probably.
So Jesse, in the table that's on the screen, look at the average residential user row there. So just take the difference between 25 and 26 for that answer. So that's about
So it's
$35.
gonna be doubled by next year, so they're gonna basically from $80 this year, it's gonna go to 170. 170.02, is that what we're looking at it?
$25, $25 difference per bill under that scenario.
Matt, he's speaking per year, actually.
Yeah, so if you want to make that annual, it'd be $100.
$100 more. So
Each year.
each year, so $80 this year, next year is 100, and then year after that, that brings up to 200 something dollars. 100, okay, 125. And that's not even the sewer. That's a significant amount of money, I'm just telling you.
No, I think we can make a decision.
No, we need a little bit more, we need a little bit
Nope,
more.
nope.
Time
And
to
there
figure this.
there is more, if you
Yeah.
like, I'll continue on through,
Yeah.
but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell the one thing it is, what we're gonna hear is gonna be a huge burden to, you know, it's for a lot of people in town. I understand the whole concept behind it. And but that's a huge commitment.
Huge, a huge number for people to handle.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, it's what we're gonna hear about this, and it's
That's
we
the
need to-
challenge from not increasing the rates in the last 10
Yeah.
years. You run into a situation like this.
And then
And
now
I
everything-
think I think it might, 17%, when you hear that number, that's a big number, right? Hearing that number, and I'm not saying your numbers are wrong, I'm not challenging
not
the
either.
numbers.
Yeah.
What I'm challenging is the message to the residents.
Yeah.
Right, and this board has a responsibility to the residents, we know what we have to pay for. So it's a double-edged sword, so I think we need to think about it,
Yeah.
is there a way to gradually impact and not go 17%? And go with a smaller number and gradually increase it over time, because it really is a big number, and I just can't ask. And we know what our community is like, it's a very aging community. We have a lot of retired people here, and they like living in here because they can afford to live here. And I know it's challenging for you, Jesse, and everything you do, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I can't start asking these senior citizens who are on fixed incomes for that type of an increase year over year. And many of them may be on town sewer. We haven't got to those numbers yet.
Yeah, that sounds sure, so that's gonna be my other question, so I know that's gonna be the topping on the cake, and it's
Yeah, that's.
yeah, it's,
What we can do is
Yeah.
sit and have some time with each of you.
Yeah.
Come in
Yeah.
and-
I think
Yeah.
so.
and take a look at it individually. There are a lot of options there as
Yeah.
far as how we do it, but the bottom line is they all come out to the same amount of money that's needed to get these things done. There are other ways of funding them. We have an enterprise fund that we use, the money that comes in is used to pay for the operations. The other option is to fund things through the tax levy, but of course, that's competing with everything else,
That's
so.
right.
But there again,
There's no easy way to.
I think that we have to remind people, that the board hasn't increased the rates for a long time, and this is
that's
the
one of the-
backfall to it.
Yeah.
When you say, okay, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna increase your rates, we'd wanna do that to you, it's because we wanna make sure things are affordable, but there's a price you pay.
Right.
When you don't increase the rates for years and years and years, and this is.
So why don't we can take, another meeting, have conversations, look at some other alternatives, but.
Yeah, we have to, because we
None
can't.
of it's good. The sewer, unfortunately, it is what it is. We pay a fee to Charles River Pollution Control District, and we pay a fee to Woonsocket Waste Facility, and, we have to
Right.
cover the cost of that, so that's the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this PFAS is federally mandated, correct? So it's not like we're asking the residents for $30 million because we want to. We don't have a choice.
Right.
But we have to figure out a way to make it easier. I'm not saying they're not going to eventually pay for it, but maybe there's a way we can come up with a solution that doesn't have that big of an impact.
Yeah, that rate increase doesn't even include the PFAS.
Right, I know it
That's what I'm
excludes
saying,
it,
so,
but I know what's,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
so roughly we'll come up to probably 18, 19, maybe even 20% increase once we add the PFAS. I'm just kind of floating some numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more than that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of dummy it down for everybody can understand, It just basically, we'll start with $20 increase per quarter. It's gonna be $80. Once you add the PFAS, probably comes up to $100 a year, give or take for a few dollars.
That's the tax rate, but.
Tax rate, yeah.
For it,
Tax
it's
rate.
paying
And then
for it
next year's gonna be a
anyway.
little bit more higher, so we need to get a little more creative here. I don't really, I know we haven't increased the rates for quite a few years. I won't feel comfortable at the moment. I think we need a little bit more study on this.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it's you, and I know you provide all the information, but I don't think it's, we need to do a little bit more study on this.
Can I make a recommendation, similar to we do budget workshops? Maybe we could just have a time where we could just do a workshop with Jesse and whomever to spend a little bit more time on this with us. Maybe it is a Saturday morning.
That might be a
Or
good
like we
idea.
do budget workshops, maybe we spend some time, be a public meeting, of course. But we go through some of this, because this is a lot to digest right now.
Yeah.
And I think a workshop approach might be helpful. Okay,
Absolutely.
Do you wanna jump on the sewer or you wanna hold on?
Yeah, I think we need to do the
Yeah.
sewer
Yeah.
only because
Yeah.
as it stands right now, we're not taking in enough revenue to cover the expenses that we're gonna have for this year, so we need to address that, because those are costs that, we pay to two other filtration plants, waste treatment plants.
we don't have a choice.
Let's take a look at
Don't
that.
sugarcoat that and then just give us a straight
Yeah.
note on the sewer one.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't mean to just cut you off. I think it's, I hope everyone understand what we're trying to do here. It's obviously, we haven't done it quite a few years. They just expenses, everything is coming all at once. And, but I think it's too much all at once, so we need to just go back and revisit that a little bit.
Not a problem. And if it's helpful, so I do have here, just for conversation, we did run a scenario, but also including this, not through taxes, but funding the PFAS through the water enterprise. And just for comparison, this increase would be approximately $35 per quarter. just for comparison. So when we're talking how much that equates to, but we'll have all this information available when we get back together.
Didn't we discuss that when we were actually looking for the PFAS project in the first place? Some of the grants might be available or loan
yeah.
options.
Yeah.
That was on the packaging, all right?
Yeah,
It's all
so
back.
as far as the options, we are earmarked right now. Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what we're looking
Yeah.
at for the construction itself, but we are earmarked for just under $1 million right now for PFAS. In addition, we're exploring options with SRF forgiveness. It looks like a portion of that might be forgiven as part of the loan. So these are options that are potentially out there, and we're gonna do what we can, but nothing is set in stone at this
You
point.
do have 0% interest.
Yeah.
For the first $17 million through the SRF program.
Okay,
And some of that may be forgiven, but, maybe is.
okay,
Got a lot of leeway there with the
Okay.
words maybe, yeah.
okay. Let's move on.
All right, sewer rates, so current sewer rates, they were last increased in 2016, and we're looking at an average quarterly bill, as it currently stands at $170 per quarter. The recommendation on this, this is just straightforward. There is only one option that's being recommended for this, at $200,000 per year, in capital. So this is actually a much larger percentage. Unfortunately, we are very behind on our sewer rates. So we are looking at our first year catch up at 35%. And that 35% figure would be across the board. So you're not only going to apply it to the service charges, but also to the rates. What I've highlighted on this sheet here is just how that figure translates throughout for an overall increase of approximately $60 on average for FY25. Now, what you'll note on sewer, again, I talked about catch up. The first year is going to be like ripping a Band-Aid off. We've got to, increase rates significantly, but as you'll see to follow, we don't have these large ticket projects coming down the pipeline. We're only projecting approximately 2.75% per year for sewer to follow. So we've got a very large figure to start. I'm sorry.
No, that's reasonable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the water side of things, that is mostly attributed to the much larger projects, sewer. We're hoping to keep 200,000 per year for capital expenditures. On the comparison side, Bellingham, as it currently stands, the pink or purple, where we currently stand at 171.64, so just above that 170 on average. And with the adjustments, we'll be looking at about 230. So still lower than Norfolk, but higher than Franklin, Medway, and Milford.
Problem is we have fewer users and that's why our rate is higher.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Other communities have
A lot more.
many more users, so the more users we have,
Yes.
the more you can control the cost, but I think we have about less than 30% of the community.
Yeah, actually, right up on the screen now, so we do have a comparison here. Water users, we have about 6,350, and sewer, we're at about 2,100. So about a third of the community is on sewer. When compared to a community like Franklin, where 81% of the water users are on sewer. So adjustments that are made are passed along to many more users. So these adjustments are more in line with water, where it's percentage wise, it's less. And the dollar amount is also, not as much. Additional information on this, Bellingham does not treat any of the sewer. So it's all either sent to the Woonsocket wastewater treatment facility or the Charles River Pollution Control District. So the fixed fees that we receive as part of that treatment, we have very little control on. So unfortunately, sewer is a much larger initial change, but fortunately, the years to follow, we're projecting much smaller changes.
Jesse, the new developments that are going in town, those are septic, aren't they? A lot of them, or are they all sewer? The newer ones.
So it depends. So we do have developments that are tied into sewer. We've got a couple in front of us now that are exploring the option of sewer, but it all comes down to capacity as well.
Right, yeah.
So Charles River, for example, we are essentially maxed out. We've got very limited room there, but residential homes, a few here and there are achievable, whereas a large scale development, probably not.
Yeah.
Woonsocket, we have a little bit more. But it's not something that we can just openly go into without doing, an evaluation to make sure we can handle the capacity.
Maybe like a 90+% capacity.
For Charles River,
Yeah.
yeah, I think last we looked, it was up there, and they're also looking at changing the way they evaluate who are coming in too, so. That 90% today may be different, probably for the worse down the road, so that's something that we have to keep in mind as well.
Has Charles River thought about expanding it all?
Yes, so they, similar to any community, they run into issues with expansion as well, so. It sounds as if they're only permitted to discharge so much into, Charles River, basin, so, one of the things that they are exploring, to my knowledge, is, package type units, so similar to a septic, some of that would be actually passed, into the ground, if I understand properly on that, so. They are exploring options, but unfortunately, I think whatever they choose is gonna be very costly, and that is gonna get passed along to users like ourselves.
I'm sorry.
So you're looking tonight, for us to, vote on at least increasing the sewer rate for FY 25, because we need to, is what you're saying.
I would strongly urge at the minimum sewer, we are in very tough shape, as we currently stand with sewer. Absolutely.
How far are we behind? I think Dennis had just mentioned that we are not gonna able to cover it.
This rate increase will bring it up. I know Heidi was concerned about even being able to set the tax rate in November.
Right.
November, if we don't do something to adjust the rates.
We'll have to cut the budget if we don't adjust the rates.
And of course, most of that is fixed costs, so it's, it's the fees that we pay for the sewage, so.
Yeah.
We
When you
really,
say cut the budgets, well, what are you gonna cut it out of? Because I'm just, when it comes to the sewer,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna, when you say cut the budget on that, where are we gonna cut it out of? Yeah.
The issue you run into is now you start to look at cutting the budget, so you cut a budget in the school, I'll use an example, it's a bad example. But you cut the budget from safety or from schools. Now, we have 2,100 residents in sewer. We don't increase their rate, but we impact how many hundreds and hundreds of students or thousands of residents by not giving them the proper safety we need. So it really is a difficult decision for us to make. It really is, and I don't want to see us having to cut budget, take away things that.
We can always do a subsidy, a general fund subsidy.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah.
well,
So you could take a piece of free cash and subsidize the sewer budget with it. You can take general fund revenues and
Yep.
subsidize the sewer fund budget.
How much difference is gonna make?
It was about $90,000 deficit when we did the budget.
So even if you're gonna increase a little bit. How
Right.
much, we can get away with instead of increasing, $60, per household per quarterly. That's what that was the number, right? Roughly $60? Yeah, basically.
Jump.
So
$60.
Yeah, I think it was $60, so basically $250. If we'd say yes tonight, $250 per year, for a lot of residents, it's a lot of money.
2,100.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, and it just, I know where we at. I don't even know how we get here, but I think it's too much to ask, it's when it comes to the safety, we just asked the residents to increase for the, so.
Yeah.
2.5
Big number,
over,
right?
we asked too much. It just,
it's just a matter of how we get there, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the first year you do the subsidy while you're looking at
We do half
different
and half.
options.
Well, I was just gonna say that, what if we did half
yeah,
the amount, and then instead of it being a 2.5% increase. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe that's a 4 or 5%, it's still not a big number. But we kind of would work backwards, if there's a way to come up with a way to work backwards. And not hit those residents with $250.
Right,
And with 125,
on a fixed income, that's a lot
I
of money.
completely understand.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, if there's another way we can do this without having that's a big. Not everybody can do
Yeah,
that.
it might not be a lot of money for a lot of people, for a lot of people, when we
Yeah.
go around, it's a lot of money for a lot of people, I'm just looking at it from the both sides of the aisle. It just is too
and what
much to ask
happens,
for so quick.
and what happens is out there in social media land, and everyone starts getting in an uproar, is look at all this revenue. you have from the warehouses and this and that, and then, well, you just asked for an override here, now you're increasing our water rates, now you're increasing our sewer rates. That's not what this board's about. I know when I read, it wasn't about increasing taxes, but PFAS is a different situation. This obviously is a slightly different. So if there's a way we can come up with a creative way to fund this without impacting them significantly, that's my attitude. It really is.
Can we look into that and then maybe
Yes, yeah.
we'll make a decision, or do we have to make a decision tonight?
You
Someone?
don't have to make a decision tonight, but obviously.
I know it's urgent, but, you know,
If we pick up, yeah, well, what we would have to do is subsidize it in November at town meeting, if that's what we're going to
Right.
do. Maybe it can be a blend, you know, you can have,
Right.
as Mr. Martinez was saying, you know, drop off, subsidize it for a few years until it's fully covered by the rates, you
Or
know.
maybe we can do a little bit more study, we can maybe get creative a little bit with some of the new.
What I'm
growth, maybe
looking
some of the
at
numbers.
is saying that 35%, right? If I just looked at FY 25 to FY 29, we would say, you know, we're gonna increase sewer 17.5%, half of it. Then we look at 26 and we say, okay, we're gonna do 5, and we're gonna make up that 17.5% over 26, 27, 28, 29. That's the way I'm thinking about doing this, so it's not the big punch in the mouth,
Right.
but it's an easier, you know, it's a little bit of a tap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to do to the wallets. I don't want to whack someone's wallet that way. If we can afford it. I mean, it'd be different if our backs were against the wall, but I don't believe our backs are against the wall. So Heidi, we need you to be
I-
creative.
I
Think
get
about
that
how we can
picture,
do
I
it.
will.
You commit to being a little creative?
Yeah.
And even if we have to do something sooner, Mr. Chairman, we
Yeah.
could actually call for another meeting
Yeah.
here, you know, a Zoom meeting or whatever, to go over this, to get a vote.
Yeah, it's just, I kind of
Right?
agree. with it.
We don't have to wait till the end of August to do this. We can do it sooner.
Let's do a little bit more study on this. If that's what I would say. I know it's too much. I know it's a little extra work for you.
Yeah.
And it's gonna probably cause us a little trouble maybe.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if we can just look into it a little bit more, let's try to get a little creative. If we can, if we need to move things around, let's move things around out with Heidi, you know, just look into it a little bit more.
Maybe we can cut the capital down for the first year.
So,
Is there any capital?
to speak on capital, the changes to the capital, so we've got 200,000 proposed as part of this. But changes to capital on sewer, they were extremely.
Minimal.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking dollars.
I think the subsidy is the only way of doing it. So essentially what we'd be doing is utilizing some tax revenue to subsidize the enterprise, but we can, you know.
Well, I
take
like
it.
that
Okay.
message better, Dennis, based on what we've been hearing the last few years about all this excess revenue, where's it going?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Here's where it's going.
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna have all the other residents, but what about the 15,000 residents who don't have sewer?
Yeah.
We'll deal with that when it comes, but you know what I mean? There's a lot going on.
So,
Aren't you glad you stayed?
see, we don't wanna ask you money and then we don't fix all the issues yet.
Yeah, we guess this is.
So we're working on it. So is that gonna cover it for now? It's, and then we gotta
Yeah.
obviously do a little bit more
It
study.
will, as long as we understand that we'll be using an alternate means of
Okay.
funding potentially, so
Okay.
that's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
that-
We'll put something
What
together.
did I miss? Sorry,
I'm gonna try
everybody.
to
My
answer-
husband's in the hospital, so I'm going back and forth. I'm sorry to
So-
keep walking up.
What we decided was, instead of hitting the residents for sewer, $60 per quarter, it's like a 200 something dollars. We're gonna kind of sit back for 1 second, Heidi's gonna look at the numbers, and as well as Dennis and Jesse, we're gonna move the things around a little bit. And then maybe
Subsidize it.
subsidize it a little bit.
That's fine with
And
me.
then we'll come up and revisit it, and instead of hitting everybody, you know, $200 a quarter. At the moment, you know, just let's wait and see, let's see if we can get creative.
That 35% is a big jump.
It is, it really is.
Okay, so we'll revisit that as soon as possible, once we have all the numbers.
Yeah.
Does
Thank
that
you.
sound like a plan?
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the information, I think,
Thanks.
just, you
Oh,
know,
it's a lot there.
It's a lot, yeah.
The report is
Yeah.
complex. Matt Abrams, did the report for us, did the work for us. He's here, and, there's a lot to it. And, you know, it's eye popping when you look at it.
Yeah.
Jesse and I, our eyes were popping, knowing that we
No,
have
I
to come
think-
here and present it, it's difficult, but it's what a lot of communities are facing right now is
Yeah.
big hikes in water and sewer, so
Well,
there's some things that we can do, maybe to subsidize it, and if the board wants us to take a look at that, we certainly will.
Just
Okay.
think, if
Yeah,
you lived
if
in
we
Boston
can.
proper, you'd be paying $4,000 to $6,000 a year in water and sewer.
Mm.
What they pay out there is outrageous, but it's nuts in the Boston proper area because of MWRA, and that's why. So, it's certainly a lot cheaper, but it's getting coming out, you gotta treat it somehow, right?
But I think we also have to, make people understand, I mean, the board in the past has really kept the rates down specifically to make it better for the residents, but we have to realize that you can't just keep doing that because then it ends up, this is the situation we're in, unfortunately. So somewhere along the line, we have to, fine tune it and come to a common conclusion for everybody. That's fair for everybody, but.
I don't think
you know?
6 years ago or 2014, we were anticipating PFAS spending
No,
30
a
million.
lot of things.
A lot of things have changed over the past 10 years since 2014, and there's no way for us to forecast that, so we did our best to keep the rate down, but now it's kind of biting us in the butt a little bit because of unintended consequences. It's really what it is. So we just have to maybe think a little bit next few years, okay, maybe we need to ask for a little bit more and a little bit more, even though not a lot, but a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we're in better shape than we are today.
That gonna be it, Jesse?
That's it for me tonight. You're not gonna have to get
And
nobody
thank you
know
for all
what
the
you said
hard
about
work.
tonight.
Thank you, a lot of work.
This was a great presentation and this was a lot to read, but it was very good.
Well, we thought it would be best to have, multitude of scenarios just to run by everybody. Of course, it's a large amount we're asking for, but we wouldn't have felt comfortable coming forward if we didn't have different options available and, so you could see why we are where we are currently,
Right.
There's a need, of course, especially in sewer, but we certainly want to make sure we're providing a safe source of water for our residents, but we also want to make sure we're doing that at a reasonable rate. So, items like that, we just wanted to make sure we had all the information available in case any questions came up.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question? Heidi, is it possible to have something like this ready to share with us, you and Jesse, before the end of the month? The reason why I'm thinking, if you were looking for an answer today, it would be nice maybe to have another meeting, not that we want another meeting in July, but if it's possible.
The meeting is August 5th.
Oh, yeah, I know, although would be here. Yeah. Okay, I wanted to be here for that. I know, I'm sorry.
Cancel the vacation. What the heck's wrong with you?
It's a business trip. I can't. I wish I could.
As far as the slides, if it's helpful, they will be available to the public, but as far as what's on here, it might be a little bit easier to follow along and see, again, the information that I sent out in advance, it was very detailed. There's a lot of different scenarios there. This focuses on the ones that we're recommending and how we got there. So if it's helpful, things like that, we can certainly plan to reconvene, go over the different options once everybody has a little bit more time to digest that.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse, for everything.
Appreciate it for the info, Eunice. We didn't mean to just cut you
Thank you, Matt.
short, but
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Don't shut your computer. Can you just? Share your
Oh,
screen?
yeah.
Because in the computer. I'm not really doing stuff and then
It's good.
Oh, you're, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we interviews for
Sorry, I had to keep.
I am.
It's just, it's like, it's 6 days of craziness. It just gets crazier every time.
Yeah.
I
I'll
go.
check it out.
Do I need to wait for Hillary for the next meeting?
No, you can go on.
Give me, okay. So the next one is on the agenda item under the other business, FY 24 budget transfers.
I expect those, if you have any questions, they're all interdepartmental transfers. The finance committee met earlier today and they signed off on all of them. Again, there's no new spending, it's all transfers within departments for various reasons as stated.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the end of the year transfers as presented.
Second,
We got first. We got second. Anybody have any questions?
What was the second?
I,
John,
What's?
I was.
For the transfers?
Yes.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mike, did you say?
I said,
Okay. I will. Thank you. So the next one is on the agenda, vote on gifts and grants. And I think we have just one, I think. Is that, am I correct?
Yeah. I move that the Board of Selectmen accept the gifts and grants as listed herein with said expenditures to be under the direction of the parties noted. The amount of $25 from the Rank Family Gift donation for fire prevention account, spending authority fire department.
Second.
Anybody have any questions? We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed? None? No, five. Oh. Dylan, you got-
All set. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Make sure I'm not going too fast.
No, sorry.
So we're gonna pass the next thing on the agenda. We're gonna
Passing
jump
over
on
it.
the,
Yeah, we're gonna pass over.
We're gonna
it.
pass over?
We need some
Okay.
clarification on something.
and then vote to ratify town administrator appointments.
You got a
Dennis,
few
you wanna-
clean appointments, most of them are in March, but animal control officers, Tracy Caddy, Patrick Keller, alternate commissioner, John Erickson's been with us for a while, obviously fills in when Tim isn't here. Conservation administrator Hannah Crawford, assistant treasurer collector Susan Silva, they're all reappointments, so.
So moved.
second.
Okay, so we got first, we got second. Any questions? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? I will
Yep, I will.
move it along.
Got it.
Okay, the next one is on the agenda, vote on June 17 and July 1st minutes. Do we have it here?
I don't see it here on this in the iPad.
Well, I have it. Oh, see, I get mine.
Oh, okay,
Did I not upload them?
no, I don't think we
Okay.
did, so
We
just,
can put them on the next one if you want me to.
no, we can read it.
I have.
Me and her, right, we have it on the
Okay,
paper.
yeah, 'cause I emailed them, right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the June 17th meeting minutes and the July 1st meeting minutes.
I second.
We got first, we got second. Any questions? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mm.
Mike, did you say aye?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. 5-0. So the next one gonna be on the agenda under the old business. Administrative search committee update. Dennis, would you like me? Would you like to?
Well, as far as the search committee update,
Yeah.
we are gonna meet on the
Discuss that.
fifth. I think we have, how many, applications? have we received?
Well, we got 11 applications.
Okay,
We got actually 14, but 3 didn't meet the parameters.
okay. So obviously we set the guidelines or we set the perimeters, it's what criteria, it's who they can be, who they cannot be, obviously. No town employee, spouses, family members, as well as we say.
Yeah.
Any board committee, appointed the committee of board. Or family member. As well as spouses, so anybody doesn't fit in that criteria, unfortunately, they're gonna be disqualified. The rest of it, you will be sharing that with us.
We'll invite all 11 in, right?
Absolutely. And what I was thinking to do was, if it's doable for everybody, if we can just set meeting just for this particular committee members interview on August 5th.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then
with me.
if you away, we can do Zoom, and if you're here, that will be awesome, we can ask questions. Find out, it's about the details about our applicants, and then we will go from there. Is that something?
Yeah, no, if I had a question, has the application process been cut off? I know we talked about July 15th.
Yes,
I thought it was
5 p.m. Yes, 5
Okay.
p.m. is done.
All right, great.
So I didn't, I think we didn't want to rush it in, I thought maybe.
No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
thought that was what I was
Yeah.
just confirming. Yeah,
July 5th, I'm sorry, July
Good.
15, 5 p.m.
at 5 p.m. today, correct.
So we got all the applicants in.
Yep.
Perfect. So if we agreed on that, it's on August 5th today,
I
And
guess
then
it's
we'll-
at 7 p.m.
yes. Is that okay for everyone? Perfect.
And so you want me to email the applicants and tell them that we'd like to invite them in for a brief interview?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Dennis?
Yeah, I think give me each a 10-minute slot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would just, assign the times.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. And then I think we're done on that topic. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Perfect. What's the next one? Zoning bylaw review discussion. I think that's.
Yeah, that's me,
Mike, it is?
Mr. Chair. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob, if you could come up. So, the reason why I'm bringing this up, we did a town charter and bylaw review, which is done, it has to be done every 10 years. But one of the things, in speaking with Rob and speaking with Dennis a little bit, one of the things that I think the planning board runs into issues with is that we have zoning bylaws that have never been addressed. And for as long as, I don't even know how long the zoning bylaws have been in effect. Now, we've added to them and made changes, but we've never had a comprehensive review of the zoning bylaws. And with Rob now as our town planner, he and I have had some conversations about, hey, we're just out of date on a fair amount of things.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you an example, and then there's some things that we should be doing to improve. And I'll give you an example, and this isn't pointing fingers at anybody, but there have been with this latest warehouse on Mechanic Street and Maple Street. There has been a lot of debate over calling it MCI Bellingham because people thought it was gonna be white and the whole bit. There's a color scheme, it's inconsistent with other warehouses in the town. There was a lot of time spent on the Welcome to Bellingham sign. Other towns have a design review committee as part of an applicant process, where towns have a consistent look and feel and brand, et cetera. And Rob and I were talking with it. So as a result of a number of conversations, and even prior to, being on the select board a handful of years in the past, we just felt it might be a good time to start and look at the zoning bylaws and set up a committee to address. It'd be great to have, there are things that are sneaking into the planning board where one set of plans were presented for 15 homes and now there's 150 townhomes. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know the details behind it all, but Rob seems to feel as though, and I have a lot of confidence in him, that a comprehensive review of zoning is something required. And Rob, you can certainly add more your analytics, your commentary to things you've run into on the planning board as an associate member in the past.
Yeah.
Fill us in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done with our zoning bylaws, stuff that's pretty significant, and then other things that really just kind of take Bellingham and put us back to really the standards that most of our abutting towns really are held to. For example, one thing that we noted, or the planning board noted a few years ago, is that we don't even have drive-through regulations in our zoning bylaws. So every other town that I've worked in the past, they'll have queuing and requirements for the size of the lanes, bypass, just simple things such as that, we don't have those in our bylaws, and those are simple changes. There's a lot of items too that have come up during different subcommittee meetings that we've had. There's been a push to look at potentially an overlay district or something that can be utilized in the center of town, because we've kind of lost our, I guess, that nice New England character with some of the properties in town. And there are some phenomenal examples of other towns, especially in Massachusetts, that have utilized some type of overlay. Primarily, the town of Shrewsbury had a phenomenal town center district that they utilized to really try and promote pedestrian access, really hone in on architectural elements. They really went above and beyond. It's something like that would be awesome to implement in our zoning bylaws. It's a lot of work, but I think we're overdue. I think that's the consensus, that you hear from most people in town. And I think the first step really is to kind of get a steering committee together to figure out exactly how to conquer the zoning review and also how to work to get these zoning bylaws updated, because I envision, you know, even if you take like a work order for every town meeting for the next few years, and you just try and whittle down 3 zoning changes per town meeting, something simple, because you don't want to totally revamp everything at once and overwhelm the public. And also, I think it's also an injustice too, to potential developers too, where you just totally revamp everything. There might be some really good projects in the works, you know, coming down the line, maybe in a few years, and then all of a sudden there's disarray because there's been a lot of changes, but I feel that, I'm personally excited about it if the select board decides to move forward with perhaps forming a subcommittee of some sorts. The exact details, I think, probably could be another discussion as far as the number. I would think that the land use boards, planning, ZBA and Conservation Commission should really be heavily involved. And yeah, and then, and then.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what, you know, we thought about is that someone from ZBA, somebody from Concom, somebody from planning, a member from the select board. And then, you know, maybe even some other individuals that, you know, I think of Roland. Roland does a lot, but you know, someone along those lines, Roland being on it, and then maybe a member at large, just to kick this off to start, because to me, I don't know. My vision is, you know, to Bellingham is a community where it's a pass through, but I think what it lacks is the community feeling. And we have this wonderful town common. And it gets used occasionally, but I'd like to see how can we use more. Then you see buildings and there's no design elements so that, you know, when you drive into Bellingham, you know you're in Bellingham. It's a feel, it's a welcoming community other than, you know, everything looks so different. Look at Curtis Apartments. It's nicely done. I'm not criticizing it, but wouldn't it be nice if there was similar, if other type of developments come on board, that they have a similar look and feel? And that's all I use the word brand, you know, companies have brands. Why can't the town of Bellingham have a brand? You know, what are we most proud of? And so that's kind of, so as part of the zoning board, it's like, I know there was a big argument handful of years ago about having a big giant electronic, you know, sign. I'm talking billboard sign. You know, we gotta have, that's the type of stuff that needs to be tightened up. If that's what we want, fine. If we don't, then that's what the zoning board, and then ultimately it's up to the town. Like the charter and bylaw review, it's just up to the town to approve.
And other towns do this.
Oh, yeah. they do.
Sherburne, you know, well, a lot of other towns, Medway, you know, they control what they have going in there too. I mean, other towns do it so that they don't have big giant boxes that look like I don't know what it looks like down on their corners, and another big giant box will go somewhere else. You know, why should we have that look? Why don't we have a better look for our town? And that's what I think we need to do. And our zoning bylaws have not been touched. I mean, as town clerk, I used to be amazed that we'd add, but we never really did anything with what we had to make it all conducive and concise. So I think this is a wonderful idea.
I think it's a great idea to zoning bylaw. I think that's gonna be, that's something in its obviously, we haven't visited for, obviously you said it for how many years? And maybe this is the time. So what do we need to do, if you wanna move forward, if you're all in agreement, so just, stop.
Reach out to the boards and ask them for, it sounds like if the board votes to put together a zoning bylaw review committee, we'll reach out to the conservation planning and zoning, ask them to designate one or two, how big, I think you should have a seven member board.
I think 7 members.
And I'm assuming Rob and Tim is gonna be involved as well as I'm assuming Concom, you know, it's Hannah get involved somehow, you know, it's
Yeah. There'll be ex officio members.
Sorry, Tim, well, Tim would be ex officio too, because he's an employee, and he lives out of town. So it would be Rob and Tim, and then Concom,
Planning,
ZBA,
ZBA.
planning,
Planning,
yeah,
ZBA.
exactly.
Yeah,
And,
and then
yeah,
I think it is important to have a couple members from the general public.
Yeah.
People, there's a lot of people out there who are very interested in what's going on, and I think this is their time
I
to
agree. So we
come in and do it,
Put that on the website, see if we have any
Yeah.
candidates, but in the meantime, we'll reach out to those boards and
Yeah, absolutely.
representatives and a representative or two from this board.
So, you said one person from the,
It's up to the board.
That's
I mean,
I think we need 7, and I think we need at least those 2 gentlemen there, that's 2.
No,
Planning board.
okay.
Well, you want
yeah,
7 voting
It's up
members?
to the planning board to
Yeah,
decide who's gonna
yeah,
represent.
well, I
their
was
board.
looking at Tim and
Yeah,
Rob.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be voting. members.
They would be voting, we need 7 voting members.
7 voting members, okay,
Yeah.
so.
so Concom, that's 3, and then from us would be 4. And that would leave you 3 more other people to get involved. And I would say you
Is
should
that
do.
something?
You get 2 from ZBA,
Yeah.
you get 2 from ZBA, 2 from, I
Well,
think
I
they're
would have,
planning.
I think 2 from the planning board.
Yeah, for sure, you don't need 2 from the
Zoning
select
board,
board.
certainly a representative, but they're more to, yeah, I mean.
I think you
certainly-
got Rob from the planning, and then 1 more from planning.
No,
He-
Rob
he's
is
our
a
town
town
planner.
planner.
I know he's the
Planner.
planner, but
So
he is
it's-
the planner.
I think Hillary said they cannot be,
No, that'd be
they cannot be voting
They
members.
can't vote.
Could be a
But
vote.
they can be,
Maybe just a thought, maybe. Just thought two planning, 2 ZBA, 1 con, well, actually, we want citizen representation.
I think you should. I think it's
Yeah.
a good opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know, one subcommittee that's done a really good job, I think, as far as I think being a really good example of trying to listen to the public and really being an open forum has been the MBTA subcommittee. I don't know if you've seen any of those meetings. but
Yeah.
We've had a rigid agenda, but a loose conversation, which actually has generated a lot of topics that I think will mesh into the zoning bylaw subcommittee.
I might know somebody actually who's in that committee, and then I think she's very talented too, I don't wanna throw,
How's that made
I
up?
don't wanna throw some names out there.
Liz, how did you make up that? Because you're the chair, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so how did you make up that board? How did,
Well,
what's the
Rob and
makeup?
I were co-chairing,
Okay.
and then once he got his new role, he
Okay.
stepped aside. I believe it was someone from zoning, planning,
Myself.
yeah,
Select
someone from
board.
select board, and then Amy opened it up to the public and Jeff Skornavaca applied. And he's a former ZBA member, so he's technically
We did five, right?
He would be a very good person to have on the
Yes,
base.
yeah, and Jeff is, yeah, he's,
Jeff
yes.
is wonderful. He's awesome.
So let's take the first step. How about if you just,
Oh, I would nominate Don if he wants to do it because he's.
No, I definitely want to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, Rob and I have talked about this quite a bit.
Yeah, and I hope everybody is engaged too,
Yeah.
everybody from the select board, the more the merrier, because it's.
Absolutely.
we can do 7, and then if we know the 7, we can do 7.
We just
Yeah.
we need to specify the 7.
5 to 7. can we
Yeah,
just
if we're
make
gonna
first?
vote on this tonight, we need to,
I mean, might as well, if you're gonna do it, just do it and get it out of the way. Let's just get the ball rolling. So,
Okay, I'll make a motion
Okay.
to appoint a subcommittee of 7 members consisting of planning, zoning, conservation, select board, and,
citizen,
Do you want a 5-member voting board? We can do 5, you gotta have an odd number. So if you
I
do
would do a
of that,
5-member voting board. I don't think we need 7.
And then 1 resident at one resident.
And then the 2 guys.
that will be 7.
The only
Right,
thing.
they
I-
are-
we're not
no,
they're not
it'd be
gonna
fine,
do
it would be
The only
fine.
thing I will say, having gone through the bylaw and the charter review, we had 9, and that's a lot.
Too many.
I think the reason why I'm thinking 7, Dennis had mentioned 7. 7 might be a good number, because it's good to have some other opinions outside of planning and ZBA. So maybe it's our housing or anybody from housing, would you think, or no, no one?
It's
Not housing authority. I'm just trying to think, you
Jeff
know,
will be awesome for that, and it's, and if you can.
I'm looking at Rob here for some.
I'd be a twofer, because I'm on zoning and
Planning.
planning.
And why don't we
Okay.
ask Jeff Scornavatia from the MBTA's, because he would be a good one for this.
Well, I'd love Liz to be on it.
Yeah.
I think the
Liz,
most
I mean-
important members for this board would be the people that are working on it. That donate their time, that are on the boards, and they deal with these.
Yeah, well, that's
regulations,
exactly where I'm.
you know, and they know where the loopholes are and things that need to be adjusted.
Exactly. Well, that's, so what's your recommendation, Tim?
I would stick to the boards and maybe one, community member at large.
So five.
Five.
So
Five.
4 plus a community at large member.
I think that's enough.
Okay.
I think too many,
To get too
it's just
many,
gonna
I think
be
it's all-
counterproductive.
I think.
Okay,
Just
fair
clear it up,
enough.
you know.
At least, all right.
Okay, so 5 board member, you wanna, read?
So we have a motion to create a zoning bylaw review committee made up of 5 members, planning board, ZBA, Concom, select 1 resident. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got first, we got second.
Yep.
Any questions? No. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You said aye?
Okay, great.
Any
Thank
opposed?
you. Thank you all for your support.
Okay, 5.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks,
Congratulations.
Tim. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Rob.
I think,
Good night out.
Now a little timeout on subcommittees.
Yeah, I'm, yeah.
It's all subcommittee now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
Good time.
And Dennis?
Yep, you've got, some information there relative to
Oh,
the
yeah.
conversation that we had at the last meeting, for town administrator, position. You've got the job description, you've got the position statement that we used last time, comparisons as far as salaries go in the area towns, as well as the position statement.
Can I
So
just ask a question on the salary comparisons? Why do you have Blackstone? I didn't think.
it's a neighboring town, I just threw it in,
Oh,
you know,
all right.
I mean,
I was like, thought I was missing something.
I didn't include Franklin just because it's twice the size of Bellingham,
Right,
even
and
though it's next
Uxbridge?
door.
We didn't put Uxbridge in.
No, I mean,
I think.
you said why Blackstone and now you went
I mean, I was
Uxbridge.
kind of like,
All right.
well, yeah, I know.
Yeah, you want
Just out of
Millville in there too, or
curiosity.
what? Yeah, so I mean, we can get more if you'd like.
No,
I
no,
just
that's fine
figured-
then. I just.
give you a- yeah.
I think give us the ballpark idea, you know, it's where we need to be.
Well, we need to be in 190,000.
So- Dennis, if you wanna continue, or you want me to jump on that?
You can jump in if you want to.
While
that
we
one.
discuss, and I think it will be good, the salary range from 190 to 225, and 190 to 225, and then open up the to be discussed or negotiated due to qualifications.
Okay.
And then that will give us a room, that will give us a, yeah, am I right?
Yeah.
And just leave it that, and then I think it will give us a room for the negotiation. If we find somebody, you know, it's obviously worth more, we'll definitely, you know, it's we'll discuss it as we go along with. And then
Okay.
obviously we set the guidelines, and then we're gonna provide those, what the committee is gonna look for.
Mhm.
And then when they're ready to make a decision, they're gonna funnel it down to us through Dennis. And then we'll make the final decision, and hopefully we'll succeed.
Yep, so as far as the advertisement goes, you saw that, I mean.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. I think the position statement is good. I'll change a few things on it, but it gives you an idea of what went out there last time. It puts a lot of information about the community out there for prospective candidates. The big issue, I included the provision of the open meeting law, which talks about what can be released to the public, and that's where the rubber meets the road, really. If we want to have a large number of candidates, at least the initial screening needs to be an executive session,
Absolutely.
closed session.
They're not gonna come.
Candidates need to know that they will be informed if their name is going to be released. And if it's going to be released, they'll be able to tell us, yeah, I'm in. There's 7 or 8 that are gonna be released. I'm in, or I don't want to be released unless I'm one of the top 3. I mean, you know, it's a decision they'll have to make, but we'll let them know that we will not release that information. And essentially, the process as I've described it here would essentially be what we would do is recommend, or the screening committee would recommend 4 or 5 candidates to the select board. The select board wasn't satisfied, the screening committee could recommend another 4 or 5. If the screening committee releases their recommendations along with all of the other candidates that weren't recommended, that's all public information. So we would have to tell the candidates that regardless of whether or not you're a finalist or not, your information is going to be released, and that's a hard pill for some of these candidates. So that's the problem you ran into last time, I know, but
Yeah.
that's the issue. And if you're all right with that, I think, that's the process we'll use, and the only difference is that if you're not satisfied with the last time I think you had 4.
Yeah.
If you're not satisfied, we can, prioritize them, so the screening committee could in fact release another 4 or 5, or 2 or 3, depending.
I don't
on
see
who
why not.
is
Let's see what we're
qualified.
gonna get. I mean, at least we can post the job.
I think you're gonna run into issues once you explore how the process is gonna go. You're gonna find a large number of these candidates are gonna just disqualify themselves. They're just gonna pass. They're not gonna wanna go through this process.
Nope.
Anyone that applies for a position like this knows what a typical process is. This is not typical. And and what I'm afraid of is that the folks that are keeping their names in will be the least qualified candidates.
I will say that.
Hopefully we'll get a few good ones.
I will say that some communities have used citizen committees. Hopefield did. Jeff Nutting was an interim town administrator there. Was the Franklin administrator. They used it. And I talked with Jeff quite a bit about how it worked there. It's worked in other communities. So I know the last time it didn't work, as far as the board was concerned, you weren't able to agree on a candidate. I mean, we'll see, we'll try it and see how it goes. We'll try to be very positive about it, but I think the bottom line is keeping it confidential. And having a certain number forwarded on. I think as long as the candidates know the information is going to be confidential until such time as they are informed it's going to be public, I think it gives them a sense of security in knowing that their name's not gonna be out there. Even though they may not be a finalist. Candidates obviously know once they're a finalist, their information is public. So if we're good with that, we'll go forward.
So when you're thinking to post it tomorrow?
Posting the position, well, it won't be that quick, but we'll get it posted fairly quickly.
Sometime this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
We should be able to get it posted that quickly. I think you need to give a fair amount of time for candidates to respond.
Because the time, obviously, the people start to respond and then they're gonna see, or they're gonna wait for the committee.
Right.
And then that will give us space in 2 weeks, and then, let's see what we get.
Yep, okay.
I have a good question.
Yes.
How many meetings is the screening committee gonna be committed to? Because I've been asked that question and I wasn't sure.
I would say, it could easily be 3 or 4.
Right, okay, but probably not much more than.
Not much more than that,
Okay,
and it'll be a very tight window too, so it may be once a week or even, if everyone's able to, twice in a week to get it done.
Okay,
Because the quicker the screening committees, because we're gonna get the resumes in. Review them and get that information to the board, and by reviewing them, we'll be interviewing a certain number of candidates and then forward them.
You're not reviewing them all. Let's say you have
Yeah.
30 applicants.
Yeah.
You'll review all the resumes and just and you'll look at the resumes and say, we're gonna take 15 of them right off the top.
And they have to do their due diligence and
Absolutely.
do all the call, make all the calls on references and
And then once,
find out how many times they've done this job, how many times they've changed jobs.
Dennis is gonna do the background checks on.
Doing that.
So we need all of that too.
Yeah, and I'll have assistance with doing that. as
Hey,
well.
speaking of that, Dennis, when you do a background check, you just describe the background check that you do. Is it just a Corey type check, or can you review?
Well, for something like this, it'll be more in depth. I'll have some assist. I have a few town managers that have offered to assist in that process.
Yeah.
And a couple of them are retired, so that'll be helpful. And
Yeah.
that's essentially what the consultants do.
Mhm.
They bring in, if you recall, when John Petrin came in, he said they had a panel that was comprised of town administrators from other communities that assisted And we'll have some of that for the initial screening, because we know the individuals that are out there, we know their history, we know who to contact, so it's a little easier on something
I
like
mean,
this.
I was talking background check.
Yeah, we don't always run query checks for sensitive positions for, like the council on aging, they're gonna be dealing with senior citizens, obviously. Police, DPW, they're working with CDLs and whatnot, so there, but for a position like this, yeah, it would be an extensive background check, yeah.
So we don't come across with some of the issues, you know, some.
Well, that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at, right?
Yeah, and a lot of it
And
is.
there's more than just a Cory,
Yeah,
there's.
a lot of
Yeah,
public
I mean,
info.
we don't wanna be stunned at the last minute, you know, it's
Right.
we wanna
We
get
don't
some
want
information
surprises. Yeah.
beforehand.
I don't wanna be offering someone a $7 million a year contract to find out that he's been arrested 10 times, right? You know what I mean?
So that's not
Taking
a
a
bad
sports analogy, you know?
So we'll get going on that. Just a couple of things. A lot of it we already covered, but the Rentham Road culvert, we're looking at alternatives to a long-term 1.5 year design build. We're gonna try and see if there are some things we can do to expedite that. I know I've had conversations with Robin. He has some ideas, and Jesse's talking with the people at Franklin about how they were able to get the Prospect Street done as quickly as they did. There are some differences between that project and ours, but we'll see what we can do. Obviously, it's a major thoroughfare, you know, cut through south end of town. North Main Street paving, you know, that's coming up, starting tomorrow, so that's great. Laurie Pfaff is gonna be putting up, at the parade, the high school football players carried the signs of the different, individuals from Bellingham who had died in different conflicts. Well, those are gonna be appearing in the hall outside up on the, above the, elevator on that for about a month or two. So it will be happening. That will be nice. Bellingham Days, 8th, 9th, and 10th of, August. We're having a vendor fair on the 10th, so it should be something a little different. Shred Day, August 6th. These are all things that are on our website and also our Facebook page, so they're out there. Household Hazardous Waste Day, July 27th. We'll do a code red on that to make sure everybody's aware of it, because that's when we always get calls the following week saying, when is it? We'll get information out, and it is on the Facebook page now as well. Of course, we have town meeting on the 12th of August, so that's all I have.
I'll tell you, the Facebook page has been really good.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people are reading it, and I think it's nice. It's getting information out there.
And we're getting some questions, so we've been getting some questions.
I think it's done very
responding,
nicely.
Direct message, yeah.
That was the first step. We didn't have-
Yep.
Yeah.
We didn't realize actually there was another, did you look into that? One, another
Yeah,
page.
so, Karen reported it, but I mean, we can't take it down.
So there was another BellinghamMA.org. It says governmental page,
Oh, gosh.
similar to ours, but the people actually, they like that and they like us too. So it's just,
Oh, my.
a lot of people, they
Yeah,
post stuff, I mean, like, not post, but I mean, it's.
The more posts we make, the more
Yeah.
likes we get,
Yeah.
the more, traffic we have on it, ours will creep its way up.
What we have so far?
We're over 600,
700,
600
yeah.
people.
Yeah, and I share it like crazy.
Share,
Share,
yeah.
share.
That's awesome.
It is good. I think it's great. And all of the things that we're talking about are all out there. So that's good.
I appreciate it for everyone's time. I think, we get in something.
We're getting there.
Slowly but surely, we definitely do our best. And,
We've satisfied the agenda. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
we got first, we got second. Any questions? No, Mike? No, you're set?
Okay.
Okay, then all, all in favor,
just
say aye.
wanna-
Yes.
Wait, I just want to apologize for jumping in and out tonight, but my husband's in the hospital, so all calls came, of course, the minute I sat down here. God forbid they'd come when I'm home. Thank you all. I apologize.
My family's for everything. Okay. Okay, all the same.
I.
Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
You see.
Oh, happy birthday, Hillary.
Oh,